Thanks for joining us. Now, floods hit some parts of the country this morning in Accra, in Kumasi, and recently we heard in Cape Coast in the central region. Let's visit the scenes of the flood. We'll begin with Kaneshi First Light, where Joy News' Emmanuel Lante reports.
I can tell you for a fact that at least for now, the situation is subsiding a bit. Earlier on, information I gather here indicates that the whole place was filled up. It's a three-lane, dual lane, but in the beginning, that's earlier in the morning, the whole place got flooded that the cars came to a standstill. No car was moving in or out, and that created a lot of traffic, a huge traffic here. But as we speak, now the water has subsided a bit, and so it has covered one part of the road. So now the cars, instead of using the 3 lanes, are using 2 lanes now. And it's quite hectic, but at least it's moving. The traffic is moving a bit. They are struggling to get themselves out of this situation, but for now, I can say that things are moving on smoothly. Well, for residents, they are saying that usually this place is always flooded and it gets to the brim that it even enters into their homes. But at least today, it did not enter into their homes, but it just covered the streets. And so nobody was able to cross the road to the other side of the area. But today's own is not as heavy as it used to be. It created traffic, yes, but it has not caused any major damage here. I can see some confusion in one of the cars. Let me get closer and see what's happening there. It seems somebody wants to get down, and because of the water, she's unable to. See how she's struggling to get down from the vehicle. So that's the kind of situation we are finding. You can realize that cars are even struggling to get onto the road. This structure, for instance, nearly fell into a ditch, which is closer to a junction here.
Well, like I said, Accra was not the only place hit by these floods. We'll go over to Kumasi, where Love FM's Erastus Asari Donko is standing by to give us the latest. Erastus, we understand we have discovered new areas that have been hit by the flood. Right. Before we go and speak with Erastus live, let's first of all take a look at some of the areas that were hit by the flood this morning.
People are trying to scoop water from their rooms at the moment. When you go to Moshizongo and other parts of Kumasi, Angomaso and its environs, we are also having a bitter situation there as well. Let me speak with some of the residents, some of whom have been staying outside for some time. Let me find out from this gentleman. Boss, saying ewaha. By Ojidi on a memo president, we Ojidi on Mubri, so Bayamaye. Yohana Tumano, or Bayama Dodo. Tia Bompire say, Manin Chakra, Sunito and Bufaso, too much. O my bridge in the Kosra and sooner high or Hanmobim. So more different beyond some from a boy, O Yamimu. They say a Trabaman, and what my card and Pipi card will be Bia or Mahua. Meritu swim animal to Mr. Nubia no money. Well, he says he has so much faith in Nanado, and he is expecting the president to come to their aid because they've been living in this for a long time. Brahmanim Haraka, what is the problem? Problem net is saying because so far the international family in answer. A bridge na a way portrait about bridge in Muasi. That's some my bridge in a Kosro. A Kosro any problem. How much is it? I don't think I'm a problem way back. I don't see no crap. To the already won't soon. No, Umbudaning. No, I'm probably before from me. Why do we have water flowing into their rooms? He's saying that there is a bridge at the airport roundabout, and that bridge is very weak, it's narrow, and that is why the flood waters overflow and enters the various houses. He's also telling me, confirming to me that indeed there are some houses that are built in waterways or water courses, and so if engineers come and they think they should pull them down, they are ready, they should pull them down and find another place for them to stay. So we have similar situations this morning across the city.
The mayor recently promised that he was going to pull some of these buildings down. We have not seen anything yet from the assembly in that direction, and the problem keeps persisting.
Will come and watch it and go. GC came here later on and went, but later on they come and convey it. Just recently they convey it, and the water is the sun have already come and occupied the place again through the big overflow. I think residents here all are suffering. There's a lot of suffering. But how do we do? We have to manage and see. If they will do it, we are all Ghanaians.
So that's the picture in Kumasi at the moment. Let's go now to Cape Coast in the central region, where Joy News' Richard Kojonyako is standing by to give us the latest. Richard, which are the areas that have been affected the most by the flooding this morning?
Well, the areas that are affected, Mamoma, a community near the University of Cape Coast, at Disadal, a suburb of Cape Coast, Abra, another suburb of Cape Coast. You also go to Anafo, where the gutters were choked and they were filled with water. It's been raining incessantly in Cape Coast. It started around 3 a.m. and it's been raining continuously. School pupils at the basic level especially had a difficult time going to school. Those who managed to get to the school, some of their schools remain closed because, the entire schools were flooded. Teachers had difficult times even getting the students or the pupils out. For the senior high school, it was relatively cool with them because a lot of them had big buses that conveyed some of the day students to school. But now the water appears to be receding, and so it's relatively okay. There was a huge vehicular traffic in Cape Coast at the Pedi Junction section of Cape Coast because the vehicles had very tough times moving through the rain. Cape Coast, for instance, when it rains, the Adisadel area is one place that has been earmarked as a flood-prone area because people have built on waterways and the other things. So the water does not have or find a course within which to meander its way into wherever it has to go. And so it's really a tough time for people at Adisadel and Anthem. The schools we mentioned at the Adisadel area, the Anthem basic schools, and then the Flipkwaku basic schools. So these are the places that were really, really badly affected today.
Richard, you were mentioning that the schools closed down, but the rains, as you are saying, have receded. Have the schools been able to open or they'll remain closed all day?
You know, the basic schools, they closed around 1:30, and so when it happened like that, the teachers feared for the lives of the pupils, and so they had to find ways and means of ensuring that the students or the pupils got home. And so schools were not in session today, and it will really be difficult for them to record the students or the pupils once the waters or the floods have receded.
Right, Richard, what about the working population? You were mentioning that there was heavy traffic. What were you picking from those who had to commute to work regularly in the morning?
I had a difficult time moving from my house to town to gauge the atmosphere in town because where I stay, for instance, the place was flooded because it's been raining, and it's been raining heavily today. So a lot of the workers a lot of the people that work at the ministries, for instance, go to work very late. Other teachers even go to their schools very late because they thought that they couldn't risk going in the midst of the rains that were there. And so a lot of the workers had to go to their place of work very late here in Cape Coast.
Thank you very much, Richard Kojonyako, for that report, giving us an update on the flooding situation in Cape Coast. We'll go back to Kumasi because we've re-established contact with Erastus Asaridonko of Love FM. Erastus, how has the situation changed since this morning?
Well, if you can see the shot we have right now, these are people who are stranded. On the other side of the camera, we have a number of people who...
Well, it seems like we are finding some difficulty in hearing Erastus Asaridonko.
And the road is totally cut off.
Right, well, so we'll go back to Erastus Asaridonko for that report on what is happening in Kumasi. But you can see from those pictures, it's quite a dire situation. We'll come back to the studio because this morning, Maxwell Agbagba visited some of these areas that have been hardest hit by the flood here in Accra, and he's joined us to tell us what exactly he observed. Maxwell, welcome back. Now, where did you visit, and what was the general picture?
Well, we went to the Airport West residential area, just some meters away from the Fiesta Royal Hotel. At the time that we got there, the flood water had actually receded, but you could still see the trail, of the flood on the road. In that, you could still see debris of tree stumps that were, brought down by the current of the flood water. You could still see some shops that were carried away, makeshift structures, I should say, that were carried away by the flood water into the middle of the streets. Now I had to take the intervention of some residents, in that particular community to get those makeshift structures back to the original positions. At the time that we got there, I mean, the water was still gushing in that shallow drainage system. Now, residents there tell us that, I mean, the water actually covered a section of the streets. So what happened was that a lot of vehicle owners who were plying that route actually had to do quick detours because some of them were scared that if they attempt going through the flood water, it might wash their vehicle into that drainage system. Some of them were also not comfortable with the whole idea, so they were doing quick U-turns and then I
can imagine that caused
detours.
Exactly,
so that caused some level of traffic there around that area. But we had some policemen who were helping to direct the traffic, but it looked like their presence there really did not mitigate the situation, because I mean there was still huge traffic there at that place at that point. Yeah. And then what we also observed was that when we're going on the N1 highway also, we realized some bumper to bumper traffic, real bumper to bumper traffic on that particular stretch. At Okpongolo also, there was a similar situation there. A stretch that would normally take you about 5 minutes. It took us about 30 minutes, 40 minutes to use a stretch of, let's say, like about 300, 500 meters. So that clearly tells you what it was like.
There must have been some very frustrated commuters on
the
road.
I mean, a lot of them were very frustrated to the extent that there were times that I would wave at some of them that, oh, we want to talk to you about the traffic situation, but just go like, no, I just don't want to talk. And clearly you could tell that these are people who've been in traffic for like long hours, are not even willing to to talk about it because they already
describe the situation.
Exactly, because you're already frustrated about it.
Let's hold it right there.
Okay.
I want to come back to that specific point, but we've re-established contact with Erastus Asaridonko. Erastus, you were describing for us how that situation in Kumasi is at the moment. Earlier, you were talking to some persons who have been heavily affected by the floods. Well, Erastus, if you can hear me, I'm asking.
Just behind me is the road.
Go ahead, Erastus.
Yes, if you can hear me, where I'm standing now is the Buakwa Sepase, and the road behind me is the Sepase Besianse Road. And so there are people who are stranded on this end, waiting to get vehicles to begin their journey to the other side. That is Besianse. The road is totally cut off. As you can see, there are other vehicles way to the other side of the road. They are trying to cross to this side, but it's not possible because there are deep gullies in there. There is no bridge, and the waters have taken over the of Kumasi because they cannot go and vehicles cannot come to the other side. I have a gentleman here. Of what they've been trying to do with this one. What is the problem here?
Our problem is that anytime rain falls, we have a flooded over Besianse Sepasi Road. And some people have been stranded. Those traveling in and to and from Besianse are stranded. They can't cross over the road. Cars, human beings are stranded over here, as you can see. And the Sepasi Bojusango Township has been totally submerged because of we have two rivers around us. Behind a Siobwa stream that has been cut off the road to we have a bridge, but the bridge cannot consume the volume of the water of the stream, and so we may need a help either from the district assembly or from the government to come and make something about the bridge for us.
But then you are a unit committee member, so what is the assembly doing?
I'm not a unit committee member, but I'm a chief. I'm a chief of Sepasi Bojusango. My name is called Nana Ajimai Bamfu II. I am the Bojusango chief as at now, the newly installed chief of Atuma Bojusango.
Oh, okay. So Nana, so you think that
have a bridge that can consume the volume of the stream, then I think it can help. Yeah, I think it can help.
So that's the chief for this area, the newly installed chief for this area. And as he said, the whole place is flooded. In fact, there are several buildings here, as you can see in your shot. In the flood waters. We have seen another building which is close by. We will get you the shots later. But that is a building that is being constructed directly in a water source. And so the assembly will have to take a critical look at what is happening here. Perhaps the seat of government, the central government, can also help in alleviating their plight at the moment.
Well, thank you, Erastus, for painting that picture for us there. It seems like the expectations of the people from their city authorities and national authorities is very high. Have we heard or seen any of such authorities at any of these flood-prone areas? Well, Erastus is finding a difficulty here as there. But Maxwell, from what we've observed in Kumasi, it looks like I was saying, there's high expectation from members of government.
Exactly.
What have some of the people you have been interacting with been saying?
Well, this is similar to what I witnessed at the airport's West Residential area, just around the Jolu area. I mean, this is a place where you have, the rich and affluent all living in. But the residents there tell me that this particular situation is a perennial one, because what we observed was that the drainage system itself, it's not like what you would want to call a drainage system. It's just they've dug a shallow, passage, for the water. So what has happened is that you have a lot of soil, getting into that passage that has been created for the
and
water.
Choking these drains.
Exactly. So when you have heavy rains coming down, then it would overflow its banks. The residents say it's a perennial problem. They've actually mentioned it many times to the authorities there to do something about it, but it looks like nothing has been done. In fact, on the ground, I met a gentleman who told me that there's a traffic light pole, an electricity pole, directly, some meters away from where we have the drainage system, and because of the rainwater, it has eroded portions of it, and he fears that the
pole would break down.
Would come down anytime soon. He said he has mentioned it many times to the electricity company of Ghana to come and fix it, but I mean they've not done anything to help the situation there. In fact, at the time that we were there, a pipe belonging to the Ghana Water Company Limited had actually burst, and treated water was gushing out into the drainage system. But I mean, we had some officials from the GWCL come in there quickly to fix the situation.
And so that burst pipe did not affect the water supply in the community?
Well, it really did not affect the water supply because it started when the rains, started. So sometime around 6 o'clock a.m. The residents there drew the attention of the Ghana Water Company Limited. So at the time that we were still there, they came there to come and fix it. But the residents say that the perennial problem of flooding, that drainage system overflowing its banks, has not been fixed, even though they've brought it to the attention of the authorities there many times.
I think the issue of it being perennial is something that is dominant across the country, and it remains to be seen what authorities will do about the drainage. It's time for us to take a short break, but there's still a lot more stories to tell here on Joy News Today. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying with us. And the government is contemplating a collaboration between the National Anti-Galamsey Task Force and licensed small-scale miners in the fight to end the menace. The move appears to have been informed by the recent extension of the 6-month ban on small-scale mining by the Land and Natural Resources Minister, because the gains made so far by the Anti-Galamsey Task Force fall below expectation. At a crunch meeting on Thursday with the Minister, General Secretary of the Small Scale Miners Association, Godwin Ama, attributed the poor results to the task force's poor knowledge of the terrain and tricks used by the illegal miners. He tells Joy News' Latif Idris the association is willing to bring its experience to bear, adding the fight will be won very easily if the association is involved.
Our proposal we gave to government before this whole fight was, we gave him 3 main points. First, let's start with the river bodies because that's the priority area to save our rivers. Second, we look at the forest reserve. And then thirdly, we sanitize those who are operating even with licenses and they are not doing its work through education, and then also empowering the association to do a lot of monitoring. But everything was boxed together, and it's really, once you lump all you want to fight it without breaking it into various components to handle, then we'll be having a lot of difficulties. So that is what we are going to do now.
Why are you interested in joining Operation Vanguard?
Our absence now is giving them that leeway to be working. Vanguard notes that Vanguard is not working in the night. They are always working during the daytime because of security reasons. And also there are remote areas that these guys are operating that the terrain is well known by the small-scale miners, because once it's operating in there, you'll be able to notice any dredger or illegal miner around compared to Vanguard. And you should also know that Vanguard, they rotate the military men, I think, every month. So once you're able to, acquaint yourself with the environment, to know the terrain, before you see 1 month is up, you need to be rotated and all this stuff. So it's also some of the disadvantages.
Lands and Natural Resources Minister John Peter Amewu agreed the licensed small-scale miners' knowledge of the terrain will significantly help in the Galamsey fight.
Some people have license at operating at point A, but they are operating somewhere in point B or point C, because there was nobody in place to check them. And so this time we have to restructure and make sure that, you are designated to work at where you are supposed to work. This group of people, they know the areas. And that is why we're having this meeting, and that's why they came here themselves. And so whilst they are not working, the illicit work ones that the fight is on, they are rather working because they cannot, where they are hiding, they cannot easily be identified. Most of the people on the river bodies now, they are moving upstreams, and these are the guys who knows where they are moving up to. So when they come in, they should be able to help us address, the river problems.
Members of the association are expected to present a budget covering their participation in the Galamsey War to the ministry in the coming days.
Now we stay with Galamsey because the Small Scale Miners Association has destroyed 3,500 excavators and handed over 200 suspected illegal miners to the security forces in their bid to support the fight against Galamsey. This was made known by the association's Director of Operations, Emmanuel Yoinchi Entry, earlier today on News Desk. These arrests were made without any support from government as the miners sought to do their bit in ending the menace. Mr. Entry, however, revealed their efforts came to a halt on the request of Environment and Science Minister Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng after the launch of Operation Vanguard.
You will recall that when the government initiated this whole process and decided to ban all forms of small-scale mining activities and then also root out illegal mining, the association took upon itself deploying our task force across the country on almost all the major river bodies that have been polluted by these illegal activities. And through that period, so the time that Vanguard was launched, we had destroyed over 3,542 projects and then arrested over 200 illegal miners and handed them over to the police. In fact, some of the cases are still in court as we speak. And so we thought as much that we are stakeholders in sanitizing the sector and making sure that we do responsible small-scale mining in Ghana. But then after the launch of Operation Vanguard, we were not called to partake in the whole process. So we went to Honorable Professor Frimpong Boateng asking the reason why the association has been sidelined and also offered our support. But then the good old prof said that it is important for us to stay away since we have now Vanguard, which is a national task force, and to quote his words, he said because of security implications, that our task force should stay out. And so we stayed out. And said, recently we realized that otherwise the river bodies that have started changing, and even Ghana Water even witnessed that and even told us that the river, the situation of the river stability has started changing and all that. So it is as if that it is even getting worse. The pollution is getting worse.
Now, moving on, Deputy General Secretary of the Public Utilities Workers Union PU, Richard Nyaba, says the union will only decide on an out-of-court settlement with government if the latter agrees to pay severance packages of workers of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG. PU, in a writ filed as the Accra High Court, argued that the decision to cede ECG to a concessionaire constituted severance of the ECG workers' employment and therefore required that they be settled. Mr. Nyaba noted that PU is willing to suspend the court proceedings if government commits to deal with its demands.
Oh, we are ever ready. We are prepared. If government want us to settle it out of court, we are prepared. So if they call on us and we see that they are really truthful with us and they are ready and faithful to discuss issues with it, we will ask our lawyers to hold on with the case.
What would be the for you go into an out-of-court settlement with them?
The worker sovereign benefits. That is the main issue, because we're first talking of the after 5 years what happens. Now the government is telling us that there is no more additional layoff. Yes, they have said it, but we have not seen it in any document anywhere. All the transaction documents, we have not seen it anywhere. Yes, if they come out with a write-up and it's agreed that yes, there will not be any layout, yes. 2, if they agree to negotiate on their workers' sovereign as per the law states, we have no problem. We will be prepared to settle it out of court.
Now, Richard Nyaba is, however, of the view it will be unfair for anyone to describe the action of PU as selfish. He says they chose to go to court after government failed to heed to their demands.
PU, it is the interest of PU and Ghanaians, because this issue of we going to a court. We've tried several times to meet government to discuss these very issues affecting our welfare and the welfare of our members. We even mentioned it on several occasions that we'll be left with no option than going to court. And we felt governments have taken the opportunity to call upon us to sit at the table, but they ignored us, and we were left with no option than to go to court. So to us, the fault cannot be fully placed at our doorsteps, but it should be placed on the doorsteps of the government.
The Ghana Integrated Financial Management System, GIFMIS, which was adopted by government in 2012 to improve efficiency and transparency in the management of public funds in the country, is yielding desired results. Project manager of GIFMIS, Alhaji Siraj Tanko, noted that the project has been able to reduce corruption, fraud, and above all, save the country from judgment debts. 60 assemblies in the country have so far been enrolled onto it. And Alhaji Siraj made the statement at a meeting organized in WA for stakeholders.
The Ghana Integrated Financial Management System was adopted in 2012 to facilitate budget preparation and execution, accounting and financial reporting, human resource payroll management. The aim is to establish an integrated ICT-based public financial management information system across MDAs and MMDAs in order to improve efficiency and achieve comprehensiveness and transparency in the management of public funds. Stakeholder meetings are being held across the country to discuss the roadmap and major activities to ensure the smooth implementation of the program on the remaining 156 MMDAs in the country. Head of Local Government Service, Dr. Nana Ato-Ata, in a speech read on his behalf by a director at the Local Government Secretariat, Dr. Charles Kessie, underscored the importance of the GIFMIS project.
GIFMIS, when fully implemented, will address the problems concerning lack of integration between budget, preparation, and execution systems, inadequate budgetary controls, lack of interface between various PFM systems across MDAs and MMDAs, undue delays in processing transactions due to cumbersome manual processes, and poor record keeping on public financial transactions, among others.
Project manager of GIFMIS, Alhaji Siraj Tanko, noted that with the implementation of the project, it has been able to reduce corruption, fraud, and above all, save the country from judgment debts.
One of the things that also GIFMIS try to encourage to avoid judgment debts is to say, look, as a contractor, we sensitize contractors on this. If you don't get a PO, purchase order, from the GIFMIS printed out and given to you, do not execute the contract. Because when you do, it means the Minister of Finance is not aware, it's not part of the budget. What will happen? If you are not able to pay, they'll take government to court. It shouldn't be. So once you budgeted for something, it's in the budget. What we are saying is, as a contractor, wait, insist on contract going.
Alhaji Siraj also allays the fears of officials of MMDAs that the project is not implemented to make them redundant.
We are not coming to take over any officer's job, but rather to improve, to bring about efficiency in what they are doing. Remember, when GIFMIS come to you, is the business processes that we bring a technology that use this technology in processing. Don't do it manually. It will bring about efficiency. It will give you some kind of skills that you did not acquire before. It will bring about transparency in who did this, who did that. At the end of the day, you all be free to do. So the fear of us taking the work from them shouldn't be entertained. That is not the case.
60 assemblies in the country have so far been rolled into the GIFMIS project since its introduction 5 years ago. Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Now, students of Nkwanta Senior High School in the Nkwanta South District of the Volta region are compelled to study under very harsh conditions as a result of the school's infrastructure challenges. This phenomenon has led to congestion, especially in the dining hall, classrooms and girls' dormitories. School authorities are appealing for some quick intervention. They explain that the completion of some abandoned projects will help ease the situation. They cite some uncompleted projects they say could help ease the situation if they could be readily attended to. Fred Kwame Asare has more.
The Nkwanta Senior High School, since its establishment in 1974 as a community second cycle institution, has witnessed very little infrastructure development. Ceilings in some of the classrooms are decaying and falling, posing threat to students. With a student population of about 1,600, the school is hit with limited number of classrooms, compelling authorities to erect iron sheet pavilion to accommodate first-year students. An assistant headmaster, Joseph Idrisu Mahama, explains the situation affects delivery of quality education.
There are 9 classrooms, but because it has not been clouded, when a teacher is in one class teaching, the other class, the noise gets to the other class. The management tried to fence it with an iron sheet, but the people from town comes to remove it, so the whole place is open. So at times when it rains, the teacher will have to stop teaching until after the rains. We are appealing to the government if they can do something about it.
The dining hall, which was originally built to accommodate 200 students, now serves over 1,400 students. The only option is for students to take their meals in batches. School gatherings are held under these trees since the school does not have a befitting assembly hall. Meanwhile, work had stalled on an ultra-modern dining and assembly hall facility with a kitchen. A 12-unit Get Fund-sponsored science department block has also been abandoned for about 7 years now. Another challenge is congestion in the girls' dormitories, which the school's management say needs renovation and expansion to accommodate the increasing number of students. The Nkwanta SHS headmaster, Lovely Bwedu, appealed to government to resume work on the abandoned projects and also supply all texts and exercise books for the first beneficiaries of the free SHS policy to enhance academic work.
For the dormitory, the boys don't have a problem as such, but for the girls, if you go to the dormitory now, what you will see, you may not like it. So we are appealing to the government as a matter of agency to build a new dormitory for the girls, and then to expand our dining hall for us. If not now, at least the dining hall furniture have to be brought.
Infrastructure deficit is the major hiccup to achieving quality education and the government's free SHS program in the Nkwanta South District. However, the Deputy Volta Regional Minister, Maxwell Blagoji, during an earlier visit to the district, promised to ensure the challenges are resolved within the shortest possible time. Fred Kwame Saris reports for Joy News.
It's now time for business with Emmanuel Abuajiriafi.
Hello again, good afternoon to you. Welcome to Business. Managing Director of Fidelity Bank, Jim Baden, says the current challenges facing the industry should be over when the sector completes implementing new capital levels. Mr. Baden was speaking to Joy Business at the launch of a book on developing Africa's financial services.
The introduction of the new minimum capital requirement of 400 million Ghana cedis is to signal consolidation. Currently, for a small economy like Ghana, which has a GDP of around $30 billion, 36 banks are too many, one too many, and therefore the Bank of Ghana introduced the new minimum capital requirements to signal consolidation amongst other objectives. So without a doubt, Fidelity being a very strong Ghanaian bank is likely to look around and get a few other small banks to merge into our operations to integrate into the bank.
In the wake of this recapitalization issue, there have been cases of some banks facing massive withdrawals, by their customers. And this brings into bear the issue of the confidence in the banking sector. What do you think can be done to shore up the confidence?
The confidence will come back. At the end of the consolidation, which from Bank of Ghana's perspective should be end of next year, 2018, it is likely that the 19 or so Ghanaian banks.
Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana is assuring depositors it has measures in place to ensure that their funds with any banks are safe. This follows reports that one of the troubled banks has been hit by massive withdrawals. We'll bring you latest of this particular story shortly on the marketplace. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji Viafe. Up next, sports.
Thanks for staying with us. And National Best Teacher 2017 Faustina Cobson is a 41-year-old teacher with the Richard Akwe Memorial School in Agbogloshi, Accra. She received a 3-bedroom house, a 50,000 cedis life insurance cover from SIT Life Insurance and other prizes. My colleague Emefa Joadosi has been to the school. She has been speaking to her students.
So we are currently here at the Richard Akwe Memorial Basic School, and to be precise, we are in the class that has the best teacher in Ghana, with Madam Faustina Cobson. We are in the class to interact with some of her students to tell us what exactly, is special about Madam Faustina that they think made her win the award. So I'm going to be speaking to some of them to just find out their thoughts. So let me start with this very young one. Hello, what's your name?
Matilda.
What do you know about Madam Faustina that you think made her win the award? Why do you think she won?
She won good.
She won good. What do you like about her?
She teaches well.
She teaches well, eh? Right. What's your favorite subject from Madam Faustina?
Mathematics.
Mathematics. Right. So there you heard. What's your name again?
Matilda.
Matilda. So that was Matilda Yeboah, who is telling me that she loves her because of the way she teaches her mathematics. Let me also take the thought of some of them, a few more, and then we'll speak to some of the teachers. What's your name?
Gloria Taladon.
Gloria. What do you think made Madam Faustina win Best Teacher?
Because she teaches well. If she's teaching you, she will explain what she's teaching you and you will understand it more.
Really? What's the favorite subject that you like from her?
My favorite subject is RME.
RME?
Yes.
And when she's teaching, does she have anything that she does? Does she take her time? What exactly are those things that you look out for?
I look out for, if she's teaching, she will explain, and then if she will read the thing and you said you are not understand, she will read it and read it again so that you understand it before she will go to the another one.
Right. Okay. So that's Gloria. They're telling me exactly what she likes about Madam Faustina. So I think the two that have spoken to are telling me that they like her purposely because of the patience she has for the children. Let me also speak to this young, beautiful girl. What's your name, please?
My name is Gladys Manko.
Gladys, I'm sure you are aware your madam has won Best Teacher.
Yes.
Make you feel right now?
She teach us very much.
So you like the way she teaches. What's the favorite subject? Because your friends have mentioned maths and RME. What's your favorite subject from her?
Creative arts.
Creative arts. What about creative art that makes her the best? Is it the way she teaches it? Is it the way she's patient? What exactly?
When she teaches.
Definitely some appreciative children there. It's now time. And that's how we end today's bulletin of Joy News today. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. I'm Daniel Daze. Many thanks for joining us.